Did you know that in Roblox Doors Floor 2, there are many secrets that are lying around the whole entire game, but there's also little tricks that people tend to overlook, and some of them have the power to drastically change how you look at the game. These are 10 hidden tricks everyone missed in Doors Floor 2. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're a pro, and let's dive in. Number 1. Jumping rocks. We should first start with one that is more well known within the speedrunning community, though for the majority of players, this tends to get overlooked quite a bit. Within Room 200, where players have to deal with a big damn Seek entity, they usually have to jump from platform to platform and try to avoid falling into the Seek goop. But there's a neat little trick that allows you to bypass up to 80% of the whole entire boss fight, and that involves with these giant boulders lurking around. Since players are able to jump in this final boss fight, one can literally just jump right over the boulders in order to get to the valves quicker. Now yes, the developers did add in invisible walls recently in order to slow this trick down, but if you do it at the right angles, it's still very possible to this day. Number 2. Secret candle. This one's more interesting, especially since we do all know what happens if you decide to use a regular candle within the fire damp rooms. Yeah, that happens. Also, you can't use them while you're swimming because we already know water and fire do not mix. But what about the upgraded version, the possessed candle? Well, it's more interesting, especially since the candle isn't actually lit up with a regular flame, but instead it's theorized that the flame is powered by the guiding light itself. This means you can actually use the possessed candle within fire damp rooms with no issues, and you can even use it underneath the water while swimming in order to find the correct exit. What's even more interesting is that the candle emits a small guiding light sound effect when it detects something in order to help players find their way. It's a neat little trick that normal players may often overlook, especially due to the close resemblance that from a regular candle. Number 3. Room 150 shortcut. Believe it or not, within the Grumble's nest inside Room 150, there are actually many different secrets and hidden tricks that players can utilize to their advantage while trying to sneak around. One important one being these piles of rocks that have a hidden wooden board right before them. Players can actually walk right over these rocks and climb over the screech pile in order to get to the radar beacon much quicker rather than going back through the nest and risking to get caught by more Grumble. Also, interesting fact, these paths are covered up by random rocks, especially once the drawbridge is put down. It makes sense because the developers don't want players to go down here in order to hide away from the Queen Grumble. Number 4. Drawer hiding. Alright, now we're getting into the more obscure and honestly pro tricks that people may have never seen before. This neat little trick was sourced from the current record holder for Roblox Doors Floor 2, Spondos, as 18 minutes into their record-breaking run, they were able to hide from Rush simply by hiding the character from within a drawer, and by doing this, they ended up completely missing the entity, allowing them to finish their run. This is actually pretty insane. The drawers within Floor 2, if glitched within, does act as a barrier because the models do contain invisible walls, which makes Rush being unable to detect the player to cause the game over. Very smart thinking there by Spondos. Number 5. Anchor Math. This one is a unique hidden trick that practically not too many people know about and can be used in order to help players solve those annoying complex math problems on the anchors, especially when dealing with those later ones that don't have any screens working. Well, someone within the community was actually able to make a simple website, and here it is, the Roblox Doors Door 150 calculator. You just input your base code and then enter the modifier, and it will instantly tell you what your numbers are. I'll leave the link in the description, but it does help a lot for players who aren't really strong with mathematics. Number 6. Outrun Figure. This is another awesome trick that I was able to find within the Doors Discord server. But imagine outrunning the figure within Doors and not having to rely on crouching at all, saving a lot of time and effort. While a player posted footage of them simply outrunning the figure and without crouching at all as they zip through the corners. But you may be wondering, how the heck did they exactly do that? Well, a major trick is to do long curvy turns, hugging the wall instead of sharp turns, as the figure will struggle to catch up to the player. You can also juke the entity in order to perform this move much easier. We've seen people do this back on floor 1 with the old figure, but seeing this in floor 2 with a much more tighter room is much harder to pull off. Number 7, Mobile Fix. This one's for all those mobile players out there, but there's actually a hidden trick out there in the YouTube community that helps the annoying issue of Doors mobile players often crashing when trying to load the game up on a mobile device. Well, there's a new trick that you can try out being shown by Epic Heart Brother. Apparently what you have to do is load the game like normal, then you have to keep switching between Roblox and your device's home screen repeatedly until the floor ends up loading. According to the comments, this trick did work for many players and recently too, so until the developers find an official fix for this game-breaking crash, you should try this one and let us know in the comments if it worked for you. Number 8, Camera Angle. When with Seek during the minecart portion of the chase, occasionally players do run into the downhill portions of the chase, making it much more difficult to predict which way the cart will turn. Players within the community had a really great trick for dealing with these parts, as they suggested you should tilt your camera up into the air slightly in order to look for those sparkles rising above the tracks. This does help a lot, especially due to the steep angle of those certain sections. Number 9, Hidden Hiding. Of course, with a new floor, there's going to be more and more hiding spots within it, and while we won't spoil too much just yet, there are some spots where players would never expect to be able to hide, such as right behind a minecart barrier from an ambush attack. You can actually use some of these models within the floor in order to maximize your survival rates. Number 10, Glitched Walls. Sometimes you may find yourself just stuck and have nowhere to go, especially if Rush is quickly coming from behind. And well, you do have one last little hidden trick that you could use. If able to angle your character correctly to the wall via no clipping, players can find a way to glitch within the wall in order to save them last second. Only do this when absolutely necessary though, because you could risk yourself getting soft locked outside of the game's boundaries. So which trick was your favorite? Like and subscribe and take care.